Hey, how you doing? Oh God, I'm doing that again. Hey, good morning. How you doing? Yeah, that's the way to go. All right, let's kick this off. All right, Doc Einstein. Jesus, right? Whoa. Let's get back to productivity. You just saw what all got on the shoulders of software developers, right? It's so much stuff that we now have to do compared to 10 years ago. There is the cloud, there are microservices, and you build it, you run it. Thank you very much, Werner Vogel, for that. Now we are also taking the operation part of it, right? We are observing everything, our containers and things like that. And then people are coming back to us and saying, why are you not productive, right? Why do you not you crank out more features? So where does this obsession come from? This obsession of productivity and getting software developers more productive, and just like trying to increase more, squeeze more out of our craft, right? So for that, I don't wear this outfit for a reason. So I wear this outfit for a reason, basically. And I want to take you on a little of a time travel. I don't have a DeLorean with me, sorry, but I will guarantee you, nothing is not. I'm not harming you or anything, right? But we will travel back 125 years in time, right? Are you okay with that? Yeah, are you good with traveling back in time? Okay, good. I count to three. You need to stare at the slides, and then I will suck you in, and we travel back in time. So, one, two, three. Whoa. Here we are in the Bethlehem Steel Factory, right? So, the Bethlehem Steel Factory in the year 1898, they had a productivity issue. So they were just like looking at how can they improve their productivity. And at that time, there was no Boston Consulting Group or McKinsey they could call, right? So they needed to find a person that helped them with their productivity, and they found one. His name was Frederick Winslow Taylor. You might have heard of him, right? Who knows Frederick Winslow Taylor here in the audience? Yeah, a few. Yeah, he's famous for his Taylorism. We can talk about it afterwards. But what Frederick Winslow Taylor did, he was just like coming into the factory and watching the workers, right? So he was just like watching the workers, what they were doing, right? And then he was pulling out his stopwatch and just like stopwatched everything, just like see where can we improve productivity here, where can we squeeze more in, how can we do that. So the first thing that he noticed was actually that the workers were actually shuffling coal. So we're just like putting on the shuffle, and then there was a lot of coal falling left and right from the shuffle. So he gave the workers custom made shuffles, so better shuffles, right? Better tools seems to be just like increasing productivity. So the next thing that he noticed is he measured how much the workers could carry throughout the day. And obviously, in the beginning of the day, right, they could carry a lot, but it decreased to the end of the day. So what he did is actually he gave basically the workers more breaks, right? So breaks in between, just like to recharge the batteries and recharge the energy to increase the productivity of the factory workers. And all in all, Frederick Winslow Taylor increased the productivity of the factory workers by 400%. That's great, right? That's really, really cool. But everything comes with a flip side. Um, so he introduced actually new roles. The job was all of a sudden different for the workers, right? So he introduced like the workers being just like doing repetitive tasks. Everything was just like time stamped, right? Everything was just like programmed into, so no room for just like being creative or something. So they were just like doing what they were told to do, and they were told to just not think about anything, right? Just do the work, right? And then he just like brought in the managers, right, to just like do the thinking for the factory workers, right? Okay, great. This is 125 years ago, and let's travel back to the year 2023 and see like how we are actually tackling productivity, developer productivity. And I think it's a little bit of human nature that we just like fall back into just like repeating what has been working before and not just like looking at it with new eyes, right? So when we look at how we measure productivity, this is the first thing that I did when I started my job. My manager said to me, Sven, how much lines of code have you added? So we can just like report that up and just like say, wow, we have 100,000 more lines of code in this year added to our code base. Great, right? We are super productive. Well, we all know that this is a stupid metric to track. Who's tracking lines of code? No one actually. Doesn't say anything about productivity, and I can actually game the metrics easily with that by adding more lines of code. Then my manager says, okay, good, great. Maybe that's not the best measurement. So let's count the tasks that are in progress and the tasks that we just like put into done, and measure productivity by that. Yeah, but tasks are smaller and larger. So also this is not a good measurement for productivity. So what's next, right? Yeah. So we have story points. Yeah, we know now how many story points we can fit in an iteration or in a sprint. All great, right? But story points are just estimations, right? So I just say it's a 5, but at the end it turned out it was a 3 or 10, right? So also this is not a good measurement for my productivity. And then the Fibonacci numbers are a little bit like hard to remember. So we came up with t-shirt sizes, same problem, right? So how can we actually measure productivity these days? We're doing cycle time, right? We're measuring the cycle time and the deployment frequency, right? Or maybe that's getting a little bit closer to what's actually measuring how productive we are. Still, there is just like a lot of room for me to game the metrics, right? I can easily increase the deployment frequency if needed, just like by deploying smaller bits, right? So, and then let's assume we have found the perfect metric. What are managers then doing is this, right? Oh, we want 10% more pull requests or 10% more story points and 20% faster pull request reviews, right? Thank you very much, Frederick Winslow Taylor. We're still there of just like trying to push the metrics, the outbound metrics, right? But there's hope. There's hope. Don't get me wrong. We call this developer experience. We don't call it developer productivity. We call it developer experience. And I love developer experience. It's great. Developer experience is a great term. But also there, just like a lot of consultants are getting this, oh, wow, developer experience, let's make some money out of it, right? And they come up with frameworks about just like increasing developer experience. So yeah, you probably gonna be a certified developer experience developer in the future if we going that direction. But what I really think is what we should do, and what we call it at Atlassian, is we want to get back to developer joy, right? To the feeling that we had when we started actually as software developers, where we were just like we're proud of what we're doing, right? And I turn it into 3 little sections here in this talk. So the first section is about just like improving the quality, right? Improving the developer quality, then improving the developer progress, so how fast things can run through our pipelines, and increasing the value that we're creating. And guess what, right? If we are actually working with great quality code, our ideas flow through the pipelines, just like you have an idea on Monday, or just like take a task on Monday and it's deployed on Wednesday. Whoa, great, right? And if our customers come back to us and say, we love your software, great things. It's awesome, right? We feel pride in what we're doing, right? Then I enjoy what we're doing, and guess what? Also, my productivity increases, by the way, right? So developer joy is the way to go. So I will show you a little bit like what some teams were doing to increase their developer joy, to just like get back the developer joy. So some examples of what teams were doing within Atlassian. Um, so developer quality, right? Assuming you're building this great shiny product here. It's nice, it's super nice, it's everyone just like loves it, your customer loves it. And then someone says just like, can you change this little small thing, please? And then you say, yeah, okay, probably yes, I can. Just like, let me open my IDE, and your code looks like this, right? It's a mess inside. And this is called technical debt. We all know that, yeah. And we just like recently did a survey, and we asked people just like, how much time do you deal with technical debt? So 42% of the time of developers are actually used to deal with technical debt. That's a lot, right? That's a lot. But even scarier it is that 10% are actually tackling technical debt, are actually actively just like working on decreasing their technical debt. Others do it maybe just like in between, but 10% are just like doing it just like on a real strategic basis. Well, this means for a lot of teams, like this down spiral thing that we get sucked deeper into the technical debt spiral. So how can we get out of this? Another example here, I wrote this nice code. Let's assume this is a super nice code here, and I love it. So just like single responsibility, everything inside, great, right? And then I go on vacation, right? And then I just like go on vacation for 2 weeks and come back and just like say, oh, let me just like see my great code again, right? And then you just like open your IDE, open the class, and your coworkers actually worked a little bit on your code, right? And it's just like a mess now, right? And sometimes this happens, and I don't want to blame my coworkers for it, right? I just like want to say they probably didn't have time to just like do it the nice way. There were a lot of pressure. No one wants to just like say, I want to mess up the code. No one is doing that, but you're doing it maybe on a Friday evening and say, oh, good, I just like get this done. And then on a Monday morning, you say, okay, you think you're gonna just like fix it and just like make it look nice, but then on a Monday morning there's some other emails in your inbox or Slack messages, so you totally forgot about it, and the code looks like this. This is actually happening to nearly every code base, right? So you might say, oh, it doesn't happen in my company because your coding guidelines caught this, right? You have coding guidelines, right? Your coding guidelines caught it. Okay, great, good to know. But you can also check your tools, right? Tools can check a lot of things these days, just like, so your tools are also checking this automatically, right? You have tools that check this automatically, right? Okay, great. Just to be clear here, so for example, the Bitbucket team does that automatically, and they have written down their coding guidelines, and everyone just like sees the coding guidelines. Back in the days, they had them on a wall when they were all in the office. Nowadays, it's in the wiki, and everyone just like has to know the coding guidelines. They got called out in code reviews, so in pull requests, actually. So this is against our coding guidelines. So everyone just like agrees on a certain level. So it's very important that you write down your coding guidelines, and everyone agrees on that. It's kind of a contract that you're doing, right? But not everything can just like checked automatically with tooling. Some things need to be just like the single responsibility principle probably needs to be checked otherwise. What are we using there? Code reviews, yeah. So you're doing code reviews, right? Just to be clear, yeah. Okay, you're doing code reviews. Okay, good, great. So code reviews are a great thing, just like to check it. Pair programming is even a better way to do that, but it hurts sometimes to do pair programming. So assume you're doing this code review, and I added this while loop here in the code, and then you just like do a pull request, and just like other people just review your code, right? And then someone is just like coming into it and says, what the fuck, Sven? I said, okay, what's going on here? And then says, oh yeah, this code is ugly. I said, ooh, wow. Already, I don't like code reviews anymore, right? It's just like I'm putting myself out there, right? I'm just like opening myself, and I get this feedback, right? And I said just like, but I'm a good player, so I said, okay, why do you think this code is ugly? And then he says, or the reviewer says like, it would be nicer if you use a for loop. Yep, nicer is a great way to explain me what it is, right? So if you're this kind, this person here doing those kind of comments, right? Here's a sentence for you: don't be a jerk, right? So actually, these people are the reason why people don't like code reviews, right? So who has been bullied by a jerk recently in the last month? Don't. I know your coworkers are in the room, so it's fine. It's fine. I know. Just just twinkle with the eye a little bit. Oh wow. Oh wow. Wow. Cool. Cool. Okay. Great. So actually, what I said is just like jerks are actually the reason why people don't like code reviews. They're the reason why people hate actually code reviews. And just like to put it back into perspective, right? I'm as a reviewer, I'm in this protected bubble, right? I'm just like super protected here. But as an author, I'm opening myself, right? I'm just like here's my work, just like give me feedback. It's a very very kind thing to do that. So just like first thing is assume competence. So assume the other person is competent to just like write great code, right? You could be wrong. You could be wrong. Second thing is just like be constructive in your feedback. Just like saying just like this code looks ugly doesn't help anyone. Doesn't help anyone. Just like be constructive in your feedback. Just like tell why you don't like it, and also explain your reasoning. Right? A for loop would be nicer is not a great reason. I want to learn too, right? I want to learn from the code review. So I'm just like putting myself out there and say, give me feedback. I want to improve. I want to get better. So I want to learn too. So also just explain your reasoning. All right. So just like working on better code reviews and write down this reasons. It's like your coding guidelines. It should have also code review guidelines for this. Write those down and just like don't accept bullying at code reviews, and this will increase your developer joy. The next thing that you probably do, right? You just like say, okay, code review done, merge it back into the main branch. And the next thing is the automatic tests come in and the test kicks off, right? So the test kicks off and normally everything is fine, but sometimes it turns out that a test turns red, right? Shoot, what should we do? Just like, okay, good. Let me just like see what I've added here. Why is the test red? I dive deeper into it. I debug it deeply and say, I cannot really find it. I don't know why, right? I don't know why this is actually a red test. Why does it turn red? So I looked at the error message. Still no clue what it is. So what I do now is just like, you know what? I rerun the test. Let's see, right? And boom, the test is green. Woo! Great. Okay, let's move on. Wait. There's a flaky test, so I have to do something. All right, so it's time for a short commercial break, right? I'll be back after this commercial break.
Is seeing red build after red build getting old? Is rerunning your failed jobs getting you down? Is waiting on those failed jobs to finish making you crazy? Deterministic Reliability is here to help. With our handy-dandy flaky test monitoring system, we will, eventually, automatically bypass those flaky tests. For 4 easy payments of free, you too can save time, ship quality code faster, be more productive, feel so much better when you go to work every day. You will be happier, your team will be happier, you'll stop dying inside, you'll stop banging your head against your desk, you'll stop replacing computers that are in a rage against the wall. Sorry. It's just a little close to home. Call 1-800-ATLASIAN today to get your free flake monitoring system.
Don't call Atlassian. No, we don't have a flaky test detector out there. It's just a team, actually, that built that flaky test detector and talked about it, made this video, and spread the learnings throughout the organization, right? So it helps also other teams are now adopting this. So the flaky test detector is pretty easy build from the team. You create a pull request. Yeah, your test kicks off, right? The build and test failed. You know what? Flaky test detector kicks in, just like reruns the test, right? The test is green, and then it detected a flaky test. So what the flaky test detector does then is just like skipping the test, mark them as skip test, and also make a comment in the pull request and say, hey, you have to look at this because something is not okay here. So just like look at it. Maybe the code is flaky, maybe the test is flaky, but better look at it. And also there's an integration with Slack, and you get a Slack message in the team room to just like get a notice that there is a flaky test, and you just like should look at these things. So debug frustration, we all know that, just like finding the error, less of that and more developer joy, less time just like diving deeper into the code, and more developer joy actually. So, but what is now great developer quality? It's all very fluffy what I said, right? So where should you start? So if you want to start somewhere, it's actually with the DORA metrics. Everyone is hopefully familiar with that. If not, just like come ask them after the talk to me at the Ask Me Anything section. So change failure rate, time to restore. These are great metrics to start with to track your quality, your code quality, and then also measure these things over time. And not only that, you should also have baselines, right? If something is just like crashing the baseline, your standards are just like hurt, so you have to do something. And we've done that a lot of times, right? Also in the past, right? We have this great wallboards where we just like have these things and see it turns red, and we have to do something. But like at this wallboard, right? There is so much red, and we back in the days we had this in our offices, and nowadays, of course, there's a dashboard on our web browser. But now you see just like there's a lot of red, and that's actually the wallboard problem. No one cares anymore about it if it's just like too much red. Like it's a broken Windows syndrome, right? All right, another broken thing. Yeah, good, great. I don't have to look at that. Another broken metric. Boom. No, don't need to look at that anymore. Just like it's now 11 out of 20. Okay, good, whatever. So what we do is actually we have this weekly ritual. We call it check-ops, right? And then we actually gather around those metrics and talk about it as a team, right? Okay, sometimes the metrics just crashes because we're working on complicated stuff, right? It's fine. So just like we can ignore it that we hit the baseline. We should improve it in the next iteration. So we write all the things down, doing and meeting again next week and see if the metric gets better, right? So this is a great way to check your quality metrics. Okay, let's talk about developer progress when things flow through our pipelines. And I'm obsessed with flow, right? We love it when we just like have no meetings, we're just like in the code for the whole day, and we just like can dive deep into the code, and we are just like in our flow state, right? This is great. Then we can really get stuff done. But software development is not only about coding, right? There's a lot of more in our software development lifecycle, like the build and test phase, right? And the deploy phase. So if that takes too long, it's also a lot of frustration for developers, right? So work on this, like get down your build and test phase if you can, just like parallelize your tests, and you can just like do it from hours to minutes. And also just like deployment, just like deploy not the whole thing, just like small snippets of the system. You can just like deploy your microservices. All great improvements, right? But the main thing, actually, the main time is wasted on this here, the review phase, right? And the review phase can actually take days, right? Just like putting a pull request out there and just like getting it merged back into the main branch, just like can take days. So we were actually measuring that at Atlassian, and the average is 3 days, right? From opening a pull request to merge it. It's horrible, right? 3 days of just like waiting for someone to review it, and then after 3 days, maybe coming back, reading the comments, and finding out that, oh yeah, well, I can't remember really what I did there 3 days ago, so I've just like have to dive into, and another time is wasted here. So we need to cut down the review time. So one team actually did that. They saw just like we have these open pull requests with these reviewers attached. So the team lead actually, Punit Arora, jumped in and said, okay, that's not a good situation, takes too long. So what I'm doing is actually, I'm just like, first thing in the morning, I'm pinging everyone that sits on an open pull request, is a review on open pull request, and ping them and say, hey, you probably haven't seen that the notification yesterday. I know it was a stressful day, whatever. Before you start your day, your developer day, just like look at the open pull request and maybe you want to close that, right? So he did that every day, and then the team felt a little bit sorry for him, right? Just like, oh, it's not your job to just like tell us that we haven't seen the notification. So they replaced Punit with a bot called the Punit bot, right? And now the Punit bot is doing this every morning, just like telling the people that says, okay, you probably haven't seen the notification, right? So please go in and merge them, or just like approve the pull request or add comments to the pull request. So this way actually, they also just like cut down the time of pull requests, right? So they also make the pull requests smaller, so it's not that complicated. So sometimes people are opening the pull request and say, oh my God, I'm closing it again. It's too much changes. I will do that when I have more time. So they found out that they have to just like make the pull request shorter, and they cut down the pull request time, the review time, from 3 days to 1.2 days, actually. Great job there. So less wait time means actually more developer joy. All right, as I said, I'm obsessed with flow, right? And I'm just like see how work flows through our pipelines, right? From beginning to the end. And I wanted to just like make a comparison of work and just like see how does traffic junctions do that, right? So I looked at traffic junctions, and this is a chaotic traffic junction, no rule at all, right? Everyone is just like finding their way through the traffic junction. And in this simulation, actually, 191 cars can pass the traffic junction in a minute. Great. Okay. So let's add some rules, right? Maybe we can be faster, right? Let's add some traffic lights. So cars go and cars stop, just like cars can go full speed in one lane, and then the other cars have to wait until it's their turn to go on, right? So assuming that with work is a lot of processes waiting for people, but still, right? If we put a little bit more progress and process in it, right? We can increase the traffic flow by 235, or just like we have 235 cars now passing this for a minute, right? Okay, that's not very agile, right? That's not. We're working agile. We are agile developers. So it's or we're using Kanban or whatever, right? So we can just like use a roundabout, right? So also here, just like work gets slotted in whenever it's time for in a sprint, and maybe there's a fast lane too, where we can just like put things in a fast lane. And guess what? Traffic flow is now 360. Wow, that's great. That's good. Wait, there's one more thing, and it's the stack interchange. And the stack interchange is really cars don't slow down. They can just like easily merge into the lanes and just like change direction. So this is a great way, right? And guess what? Traffic flow is 1,099 cars can pass this junction per minute, right? What does that mean for work, right? What does that mean for work? It means less like we don't have to slow down and wait for other teams to do stuff or other people to do stuff. It means like we build autonomous teams, right? Teams that can do things on their own, right? That they don't have to wait for another team, right? Of course, those teams, those autonomous teams, needs to be highly aligned. Now, how does that work, right? So if we want to just like have autonomous teams and don't wait maybe for the designers, for the product managers, for the QA people, so we put them all in one team, and now we're happy, right? So now we can just like work as a team, just like we are autonomously drive things forward from beginning to the end. We are owning everything. Wait, there is in most teams, the problem is that there is no full-time job for a designer, right? And also just we don't have enough designers to put it on every development team. That's also just like a restriction. So what we're doing actually, yeah, we replace everything with developers. Developers can do everything, right? Right? Let's do that. Wow, great. And now we just can flow. Wait. So the Trello team actually, they had this problem. So back in the days when quality assurance were just like doing the exploratory testing and the developers were doing the automation testing, we had to wait for the QA people, right? To just like say, okay, test it, and then we can deploy the feature. Now, actually, that developers are taking over, right? They're doing also the exploratory test, and the QA people can just like move to Bali and drink pina colada the whole day. Great. Wow. Now developers are doing their jobs. Cool. Well, So it's different, right? So Trello doesn't call QA quality assurance, they call it quality assistance. So these people are actually helping developers to become testers, to become better quality people. So they help them with their automated test and with their exploratory testing. So how does that work? So for example, they just like go in before actually the developer writes the code, go in and write the test the test document, right? How to test it, exploratory test, together with the developer, right? So they just like write down this is how I would test it. The developer learns to become better testers, but it's also a clear test plan that the developer has. The developer developing the feature, and then afterwards just like going through the test plan and can deploy the feature without the QA people involved, right? We're doing sometimes a demo so the QA people can ask some questions, but they are not testing it. The developers are testing it too, right? And then, of course, the QA people work more on automating things, right? The test database, all those things. That's what the QA people now take care of, right? So the developer can really work on the feature set. So this means actually less cognitive load, developer cognitive load, because they can just like go on and move things forward, and more developer joy actually. But also here, just what is actually great developer progress, right? How do we measure great developer progress? Yeah, also here, just like start with the DORA metrics. The DORA metrics are probably a good start to just like get things started. There's more to just like track, and it depends on the team, but there's probably a good way. So just like deployment frequency, lead time for changes, all those things. Another thing that we had problems with was just like finding out how much time do we actually spend on making great new features, and how much time do we actually spend on other stuff, right? We call it keeping the lights on, right? So how much time do exactly on? What is a healthy ratio? Because we know we need to spend time on keeping the lights on. We need to work on stuff like operations and fixing bugs and all those things, updating our tools, right? But what is a good ratio between that? So have a great developer flow. So we were just like defining first what we mean by developer progress. So we were just like we work on internal or customer features. We work on organization development. So for example, just like doing interviews. Also, this is helping the team to move things faster if we get more people on the team, or more experienced people on the team, or better programmers on the team, or whatever. And then also innovation time. Just like spend time on innovating things. This is also important for us to move things forward, to be innovative, and just like work on stuff. So, and we defined also keeping the lights on with just like reducing entropy, so working on bugs and all those things, service operations that we need to do, and also administrative time, just like meeting time or team time that we're doing. So this is all about just like keeping the lights on. And we were just like measuring it, measuring the time for a while, and we looked at what great teams that really are cranking out stuff are really doing, how much they spend. Healthy teams, what they are doing. So the ratio was just like more than 60% on developer progress. This seems to be just like really good, and you're a healthy team. With less than 40% on spending on keeping the lights on. There's always just like teams are different, so you need to just like take that a little bit, the numbers, and just like adjust it to your teams. But this is a great guidance for teams to just like see how much time do we actually spend on those things, and where should we work on? What should we do? And not just like to measure people here, right? It was also great for the self-reflection of the developers, so they see actually how much time they spend keeping the lights on, right? And if it's too much, then they just like say, okay, let's work on this. So it was great for the developers to see just like how much time they actually spend on these things. So the next thing, or the last thing I want to talk about, is the value that we create, the developer value that we create for our customers, right? So our product managers are actually working a lot with customers and defining the product, right? So let's say this is just like what the users imagine. The product manager's doing some interviews and all those things. And then what they do is actually they give us all the designs and everything, or just like a user story basically, right? They write it down in the user story. And then we just like take that and say, okay, I know what the user actually wants. right? So I built this, right? And I did this too, sorry, but I just like assumed things. It was not really written out maybe in the user story, so I assumed things and I built this thing just like, and I thought like, yeah, the users probably need that. They need this antenna on the car, right? To just like find their car in the in the parking lot, right? So just like an automatic antenna. Great, Homer Simpson. Great idea. Love it. So just like the product people are spending a lot of time, right, doing research, measurements, interviews, all those things, experiments, right? And then they just like crank everything in the user story and just like give it to us developers. We should be as developers, and we saw that yesterday in the keynote. Just like be more involved actually in all those things, right? And just like seeing why we are building this. This way, we build actually a better product for the customers. So building the running software, but also the other way around. The product managers should also be involved in seeing what we are building and not just like saying at the end, oh, this is not what we imagined, right? We need to just like change that. So we actually spending a lot of time on the make phase. That's how we call it Atlassian. It's the make phase, just like the create phase when we create the software. And the product manager spending a lot of time in the wonder phase, just like caring about the problem. But we have more phases here when we just like design a big feature. There's also the explore phase, just like to see, we define the problem, what are the possible solutions, and also the impact phase to just like measure if we really built the thing that our customer wanted, right? And just like circle all this back. There's all connections between those things, and we just like go back and forth. But obviously, the developer shouldn't be involved in 100% in all those phases, right? But it looks maybe a little bit like this, right? So developers a little bit in the problem phase and get informed, and then the product people are probably more involved in things like this, right? So, and then what we do to encourage everyone to just like be in the loop of what we're trying to build and why we build it, we define some milestones here. We have a project kickoff where we talk about the problem, so everyone gets involved in the project kickoff. That's the developers, the security people, the ops people, the designers, you name it, researchers. Everyone is just like involved in that. So everyone knows actually what we built. Then also important in the prototype phase, product managers and designers can do great Figma files, right? And Figma stuff, right? And then we just like say as developer, this is just like a little bit tricky to implement. So also being involved already here and saying, okay, we can we make it a little bit easier, right? So also this, and then in the make phase, we're just like inviting everyone. We're doing frequently demos, so inviting the whole product team to just like join those demos and give feedback. And then also when we just like when the product people are measuring later the impact, we're also involved in that as developers to just like see, oh, this is how the user uses this, and this is what we should like fix, right? So let's talk a little bit about the demos because we're developers and we should just like see how those things nowadays these whoops. Can we just like have the slides back? It's frozen. Okay. That looks better. So nowadays we have the demos, right? Not anymore in a room, so we don't sit in a room, everyone. We just like do them remotely. So, but the demos are just like first as they're open and everyone can join, as I said, right? So we're recording them. They're on Zoom. I can join them live and ask questions or watch the recording from every team at Atlassian. They're putting out the demos, so I can watch them later because we work in different time zones. But everyone can actually join them. But it's mostly the team that really works on the product, right? And then these discussions are outcome oriented. It's not about implementation details. We don't want to show everyone the code that we've written and talk about the details. It's about the outcome for the customers. This is also important. And then it's a group thinking exercise. So we challenge the solution that we saw. Also, the product managers sometimes come in and say, yeah, I know this is what we defined, but let's go back and show that to the customers. We're not sure anymore if this is really what the customer wanted. So also there, we challenge the solution. And then also we celebrate together. We're building this and want to have fun, right? We want to just like take pride in what we build. So if we just like reach a milestone or just like deploy a new feature, then we just like celebrate together as a team, getting everyone together. All right, so this means less rework frustration, right? Because we're just like in the loop every time, everything in the loop, and more developer joy. All right, let's talk about developer joy. So there's this famous quote from Peter Drucker: "If you can't measure it, you can't improve it." Right? So how do we? What is best way to measure? So I told you about the Dora metrics, but you should think really what is really important for your team. There can be a lot of things that can be important for your team. Don't have to be the Dora metrics because you're working on something else, right? And the Dora metrics is not important for you, but wait time or whatever you want to measure. So think about just like what is important for your team. So what we do is actually we have the measurements and we use our own tool Compass for that. And we have those measurements, and then we have these scorecards. So that these scorecards are combining a lot of measurements, and then also we just like have the baseline added to the scorecards. So if there's like our metrics just like turn orange or red, just like we know we have to do something. And also we built in the check ops directly, so you can just like talk about these metrics and uh, write down the actions, what you want to do, or why you think like it's okay. So as a team, you come together and do that. You can also use, there are tons of other tools out there. So measuring things are great, right? So we can just like measure and improve. But I said something with Taylor in the beginning, right? So actually GitHub did this interesting experiment. They call it the Good Day Project. And they asked their developers, right, how satisfied or just like how productive were you today, right? And of course, yeah, some days you feel more productive than other days, and that's just natural, right? So what they did is actually every time in the evening they asked them, how productive was your day? And then they just like, okay, let's overlay that with the data that we can measure, right? And they did that. And guess what? Couldn't find a correlation. They couldn't find just like, oh, developers felt just like super productive, and the numbers are showing this. Great, right? They couldn't find it. So poor Octocat here. And it's because some people like to treat software development like this, like a production line, right? And just like, okay, we spend these days here and we need to crank down the time here. But you know what? Software development is not a production line, right? We just like, we do more complicated stuff, takes longer. We do more easy stuff, takes maybe we're faster. So we are creative workers, right? We come up with solutions. So it's not like producing the same car all over again and we can just like measure it like so Taylor did to the stopwatch. It's not working like this. So here's the thing. Measure what's important, but don't make important what you can measure. So don't do that, right? It's just like, and don't be stupid, right? The developers know actually what bothers them and where they have problems in terms of productivity, right? Also ask your developers. Don't just take the metrics. They're great for just like showing you signals, right? Just like, oh, we should maybe look at the deployment frequency. We're not deploying as often as we did a year ago. So we should look at that. But also ask your developers, right? And measure your developer joy. So we are doing these surveys at Atlassian, just like regular surveys where we ask the developers, how satisfied are you with your speed to ship quality code? How satisfied are you with your waiting time? How satisfied are you with your execution independence, like running an autonomous teams? How satisfied are you with your access to tools, processes, and practices? Managing external standards like security, right? How satisfied are you with that? Managing your code and pipelines and all those things. The ramp up time for new developers, that is important for some teams. And how is your developer satisfaction overall? And I want you to think about just like, what is your biggest pain point in your software development daily life or in your engineering daily life, right? So just like an experiment here, please go to this URL here, menti.com, and enter this number, or just like scan the QR code and tell us what's your biggest developer pain point from this list. You get this list, and then we just like can show the results here to just like see what the audience here thinks is their biggest developer joy pain point. So as I said, like speed to ship quality code, your waiting time, just like waiting on builds, waiting on tests, whatever, execution independence, you're just like have too much dependencies and waiting for other people, access to tools, practices, right? You just like have to work with old tools and you want to have new tools, or effort to manage external standards, security, governance things, managing your code pipeline on infrastructure, the ramp up time when you just like have new developers join the team. Does that take months until they are up to speed, or your developer satisfaction is down in general? So we can look at the results and see just like how everyone is feeling here. Now here we go. All right, numbers are still changing. We are in with wait time, and managing code pipeline is catching up. All right. All right. This is managing code pipeline and infrastructure. Speed to ship code, quality code. I think it's all three pain points here, mostly. Thank you very much. Let's go back to the presentation. All right. Thank you for this little experiment. So we are measuring, as I told you, we're measuring this at Atlassian regularly. We're doing the surveys, but not, we're just like, we're asking, of course, on a scale from 1 to 10, just like how satisfied are you with these things, right? So we ask how satisfied are you. But as I said, like teams are different, right? Not every team is just like needs fast ramp up time. So we also ask them, how important is that for your team? So we're just like doing it a little bit more, I would say, sophisticated. So we just like, and out of these score, we're calculating a so-called opportunity score. So the opportunity score, just like you can see, just like if you're in this white corridor, yeah, opportunity score is it's okay. We can just like live with that. It looks pretty good. If you fall below this, right, then you have to do something. So if you want to do this more like how important is that, and on a scale from 1 to 10, and run that with your team, I put this whole survey in a type form. You can try it out yourself. You can just like share with your team and then talk about the areas in your development that you should improve, right? So do that. And then also, if you know that and you know your red things, right, that things that turn red, try to fix things. I told you some stories from Atlassian teams how they try to fix things like quality assistance or the flaky test detector. So try to fix things, but don't forget actually to also share the learnings. So so how do you do that? How do you carve out time? So at last time we say, okay, 20% of the time we can spend on developer productivity. So we're doing sometimes a developer experience hackathon, just like 24 hours, just like work on this. We also try to use 20% time. Didn't work really out at Atlassian. It's more like a 2 to 3% time. So this is not because you just like work on stuff and your coworkers are working on the sprint goals. So that wasn't really working out. So we just like said, okay, good. We take the 20% time and put that in a whole week, like a Dev Joy week, where we just like take a special sprint out and just like do one week of just like working on developer productivity issues instead of working on features. Or you just like plan that in your regular sprint. You can do that too, right? And as I said, just like go there, try to fix things, and also spread the learnings. So the Punit team actually with the Punit bot, they actually blogged about it. So we have this internal Confluence instance where we just like blog regularly about the things that we do, and the team was just like blogging about it, the Punit bot, and explaining what the Punit bot is all about, and how it works and how you can implement it. And guess what? Now there are 20 teams actually running the Punit bot within Atlassian because they also had the same issues that they forgot about the notifications. So just to sum this up, first, take your measurements, right? Take your measurements, Dora metrics, whatever you want to measure, what's important for your team, and your survey results, right? So do some surveys, ask your developers what bothers them, and give those to your autonomous teams, right? Run your autonomous teams, give those to the autonomous teams, give them also time and room to just like work on stuff and try to fix things, right? And then improve your developer quality, your developer progress, and your developer value that you create for your customers, right? Because actually, when you work on great quality, when you work on when your work flows through the pipelines easily, and you're creating value for your customers. Your customer love your tools. They really love what you're doing, right? And I always wanted to do a Venn diagram in a talk. Now I do it right in the middle there. This is actually where developer joy is happening. And that's the reason, right, why we became developers. We want to enjoy our craft, right? Because it is fun. It's the best job in the world, and we should just like celebrate that. So don't forget to have fun. Thank you very much. Thanks for your attention.